Welcome back to the Avert Alzheimer's podcast. I am Leanne, your host, and I am really glad that you're here today. This, I believe, is probably going to be one of the more fascinating podcasts that I've done because I'm going to be touching on this erythritol study that has come out. And if you have not seen news about this, I will just give you a quick little overview. Last week, a publication was put out that stated that a study had been done that shows that ingestion of erythritol, and they used xylitol in the study as well, but specifically called out erythritol, saying that it could be linked to cardiovascular disease. So we're going to do a deep dive into this today because I am a firm believer in not jumping on the bandwagon of these things until I've done some my own personal investigation of the study. I will say that two of the neurologists that I follow who are big into Alzheimer's prevention, and one in particular is into Alzheimer's reversal, I am very, very glad to see that they did not post anything about this. However, a lot of other people in the keto, carnivore, and brain health space that I am connected with on social media quickly jumped on this and started publicizing that they would no longer be using erythritol. They thought it was safe, and now this new publication has come out with the study, and it's so dangerous for the heart. And it was just mind-blowing to me that the day this came out, and CNN was the news entity that broke the story. The day it came out, these people jumped on and said, I am never using this product again. I cannot believe it's linked to heart disease. And it was really fascinating to me that they're so quick to believe a story that comes out, especially from a mainstream news source, with everything that we've gone through in the last few years with news not being accurate. They quickly jumped on this story and started bad-mouthing erythritol. I will say Dave Asprey, if you're not familiar with him, he's the guy that created Bulletproof Coffee, came out the next day and said, slow your roll, everybody. Let's look at the facts. And I had already planned to do that because I want to make sure that I know exactly what the study says before I say don't use erythritol. Now, I have publicly said don't use erythritol. I've said that about all the non-nutritive sweeteners, but that is from another study that was done that I did my research on that showed that continual ingestion of those sweeteners can create an insulin resistance that's higher and stays elevated longer than if you just ate sugar. I do not suggest eating sugar either. And this whole month in my membership group, I am talking about sugar and how good or bad it is for you. So I highly encourage you to jump in now because it's only $7 and check out my membership around Alzheimer's prevention and brain health, because we do cover all of these topics in my membership to a much deeper level. But today I am going to talk specifically about this study. Now, this study said that they had done the research and they had learned that non-nutritive sweeteners are tied to cardiovascular disease. So let's look at the study for a minute. I'm going to share my screen with you because there's some valuable information in here we need to go over. Okay, so this is a screen grab that I did earlier, and I want to show it to you. Now, this is one of the studies that they are referring to in the study that we are talking about right now. They referenced grants that they had gotten on 3 different occasions, and this is the first grant that is referenced in their study that was published last week. And this grant, as you can see right here, was posted originally in 2008. And we're going to just scroll through here. You can see that the first submittal date was in 2007. The first posted date was 2008. They have a final completion date, a final data collection date of 2007. And they're just collecting blood from people. These are people who already have cardiovascular disease. So they're going through here. It's mostly males, females, 18 years and older. Now, here's the really interesting thing. I don't understand why they referenced this. The study was to commence for 2 to 5 years. The patients already have cardiovascular disease. But then here, they're all non-Caucasian patients or Hispanic ethnicity. I don't know why this study is actually listed in this why this is linked to this particular study. But one of the things that I found most fascinating about it is the completion date is not until December 2024. You see that right here. There's 15,000 people enrolled in this study. And then on top of that, they are sponsored by a pharmaceutical company as well as some other large firms. So let's see if I can grab that and show you. They're sponsored by the Cleveland Clinic, the NIH, National Institute of Health, Millennium Pharmaceuticals, and then they have the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute as part of their sponsors. Now, I've looked this guy, Stanley Hazen, up, who is one of the Cleveland Clinic doctors. He does a lot of work in their research department, which is great. But here's my issue with this guy. He is very closely tied to, as is the Cleveland unit, Procter & Gamble, this Millennium Drug Institute or drug company, and NIH, which all are a part of big pharma. Now, let's take a look at the parameters of the study, just real quick. Okay, so here's the study. We looked at this a little bit. They're looking at artificial sweeteners, but that's what they list here. Specifically, if you come down here to the bottom, they were looking at the safety of erythritol and xylitol and platelet reactivity to it, in vitro and in vivo, which is your heart valves. Okay, here's the next screen that I want to share with you. This is something that I thought was really fascinating. Here's the parameters of this trial. It was interventional. They had only 40 participants, non-randomized. They were looking to do prevention. They started the trial in on March 10th of 2021, and they estimated the completion date to be at the end of this year or June of this year. And then they wanted to put their actual completion date of the study out in 2023. And then here they only list xylitol, but in what they published, they listed erythritol. Now, I will tell you that if you go look up on PubMed, this actual study, you can't find anything that shows xylitol in the actual study. They only reference erythritol. And here is what they say. The study itself was 30 grams of erythritol mixed into 300 milliliters of water. Now, 300 milliliters of water is approximately 1.26 cups, so a cup and a quarter. That's not a lot of water. 30 grams of erythritol, or even xylitol, is 7.5 times one serving. That's it. That's a cup of water with 7.5 times the serving recommendation. This is what they did to do this study. So here's the baseline. They had these people drink this, and then they checked their platelets every 30 minutes. Well, let me tell you something. If you were to eat or drink something that had 7.5 times the recommended amount of sugar in it, which would be a Coca-Cola, you're going to have the same reaction. This is not a legitimate study because they're way over consuming the amount recommended to consume and using that to test these people to say that it could cause heart disease. Come on. You cannot do this. Yes, I know we are an overconsumption country. We overeat everything. That's the problem. If you eat food that is recommended, or if you eat food in the serving size that's recommended, you're not going to have heart problems, even if it's erythritol. You cannot drink 7.5 times the amount that they say to drink in one serving and not expect to have a reaction. I don't care what it is. You can drink 7.5 times the amount of water that you're supposed to drink in a day and die. This study is bogus. It's completely fabricated. And I would be willing to bet my right finger that it's fabricated on the pharmaceutical industry, who more than likely is one of the sponsors of this study, to get their medicines out there to keep you on medication instead of teaching you how to eat properly. 30 grams, one serving size on a box or a package of erythritol is 4 grams. These people were getting 30 grams in 2 servings of water, 2.5 servings of water. That is outrageous. 7.5 times the recommended serving size. And now erythritol is being demonized everywhere for cardiovascular damage. I think that this is detrimental to what it's doing to a community, to a group, to a bunch of companies that are trying to produce something that actually won't do the detriment to us that carbs and sugar will do. And I am not an advocate for it. I still believe that we need to minimize the amount of intake that we have of everything. But I don't stand as rigid as I used to around moderation. Moderation can allow you to have whatever you want if you don't have a pre-existing condition. If you already have diabetes, if you already have Alzheimer's or some other form of cognitive decline, you have to take it way more seriously and be way more extreme. But if you are doing everything preventatively, eat that 4 grams of erythritol. You're going to be fine. This is what ticks me off so bad about these studies that are coming out. These, oh my gosh, my pants are on fire because I drink drinks and eat foods that have erythritol in them. Second point I want to make to you is there is not one drink on the market that I was able to find, and I did a lot of looking, that has erythritol or xylitol in it as a sweetener. And the only thing you can really find that has xylitol in it as a sweetener is gum and a couple of candies. Erythritol was designed for baking. That is what we use it for. And the study says that it's sweeter than sugar, which is not factual. It's actually 70% the sweetness of sugar. So it's 30% less sweet than sugar. But this study indicated that it was higher sweetness value than sugar, which is not true. So please, 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 please do your own research when you see these studies come out before you start reaching for that everything is the plague button in your life and being afraid to enjoy something that you might want to enjoy. I would still recommend having a smaller amount of erythritol than having a large amount of sugar. But I also would recommend, if you really want something sweet, use raw honey. That's my shtick. That's what I'm sticking to. That's what I believe. But I really, really, really want to just ask you not to jump on this bandwagon of the sky is falling around this sweetener and around using non-nutritive sweeteners. I'm not a fan. I'm not going to pretend that I am, but I'm also not going to let these companies demonize them with bad information just so they can get more prescription drugs on the market. That's not fair. That's not the way that our medical and healthcare industry should be treating us, and yet they are. And I will do my part to try and fight it, which is why I'm putting out this podcast for you today. Thank you so much for joining me. I am hopeful that you got some information out of this. I know it was a little crazy, but yeah, this study ticked me off when I went in and did my research. Really ticked me off. And I hope it ticks you off, and I hope you fight. Let's start this prevention movement that I am so desperate to start. Stop letting these pharmaceutical companies control what we eat, what we do, how we live. Let that be up to us and our own knowledge. Hey, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. Share this podcast. Let's get this word out there. Let's get this fight started, and be sure to hit the notification bell so that you know when I've put a new podcast out every week. All right. Thanks for joining me. Bye.